Marcus Cole starts his shift before the sun is fully up. The air is cool and still. The white stone of the memorial looks soft in the early light, and the paths are clear from the night crew's sweep. He walks the perimeter first, the same way, every morning because routine keeps a place honest. He checks each gate with a gentle hand, not to test strength, but to feel if anything is wrong. A loose hinge, a sticky latch, a new scrape. Small things say a lot. He listens too. Birds call. A bus sighs at a stop. Somewhere, a bike bell rings. If there is a footstep where none should be, he wants to hear it. Visitors come later in the morning, but the memorial is never empty. A jogger slows near the steps. A groundskeeper pushes a cart with rakes and a little radio that plays old songs. A woman with a coffee sits on a bench and reads a letter. Marcus nods to each person, polite and calm. His presence makes people feel safe. He wears a neat uniform, a cap low against the light, and boots that carry him steady and quiet. He keeps a simple look, but his eyes are always working. He loves the quiet work. He loves that his job is care. Care for names carved in stone. Care for the flag that lifts and falls. Care for the rules that keep the place open to all. He is not there to argue or to show power. He is there to be steady, like the clean lines of the building, like the path that always leads back to the entrance. People say thanks. He always says, "You're welcome," and he means it. He does not give speeches. He does not explain why he stands the way he does. He simply stands. Most people know very little about him. He smiles when a child tries a salute and then laughs at their own seriousness. He gives directions to the museum. He tells a visitor where the water fountains are. If someone asks about the memorial's history, he points to the plaques and invites them to read, because the words are there for everyone. When a school group comes, the teacher talks. Marcus watches backpacks, steps, and energy. He hopes each person leaves with a quiet, good feeling in the chest. This morning, the light is soft and gray. It rained the night before. Thin arcs of dampness lie where stone meets grass. Near the east gate, where few visitors go early, he finds something that does not fit. There are shoe prints in the mud by the low hedge, close to the fence line. They are fresh enough that the edges are clean. The prints are not from the grounds crew. He knows the soles of their boots. These are from flat shoes with a worn heel. One print turns at a sharp angle and points toward the side entrance. He keeps moving along his path. He checks locks with keys he always carries, moving his hand in a way that looks slow but is very precise. At the service door near the back, the lock turns with a sound that is slightly different. He pays attention, tries again, and looks closer. There is a thin scratch on the metal, fresh and bright against the older finish. It is near the keyhole, not on it, but close enough to show a tool slipped or a hand shook. He brushes his thumb across it and makes a small note in his pocketbook. For most people, these would be small things. For Marcus, small things are the early voice of big things. He does not feel fear. He feels a familiar calm that comes when a picture starts to form. He does not know the whole picture yet, only that someone came close, looked over, touched a lock, and then left. Maybe it was a curious teen. Maybe it was a person who likes to test boundaries. Maybe it was a worker who bent down to tie a shoe and brushed the metal. He does not jump to a story. He gathers facts. He calls his supervisor with a brief, clear update. His words are simple. He found prints and a scratch. He will keep watch and log it all. The supervisor thanks him. They both know resources are thin. The city is big, and the hours are long. Marcus does not ask for more help. He trusts that if he keeps to basics, observe, record, prevent, most troubles will not grow. He returns to the main path and greets a small line of morning visitors with the same steady tone as always. A bus arrives with visitors from a veterans group. They walk slow and steady, some with canes, some with hats that show old units and dates. Marcus greets them with quiet respect and gives them space. When someone asks where to place flowers, he shows the tray near the steps and waits as they bow their heads. A breeze moves the flag. The sun stands a little higher. The day feels ordinary again, but he still thinks about the prints by the hedge and the thin scratch on the lock. Ordinary days can hold early signs. He eats a simple lunch at the small break area by the side door. He faces outward as he eats, not because he is tense, but because he likes to see the path and the people. Two teenagers wander near the side. Gate. They do nothing wrong. They lean on the fence and talk. One holds a phone up for a selfie. Marcus watches, then walks over at a normal pace. He smiles, says hello, and asks if they have any questions about the memorial. They say no and move along. He thanks them for visiting and they wave. Afternoon brings a different rhythm. Workers from nearby offices cut through on their break. A tour guide stops with a small group and speaks in a low voice. A camera crew sets up outside the fence to film a piece about city landmarks. Marcus tracks each new thing with calm interest. The camera crew asks if they can film from inside. He explains the process. A permit is needed, and today they do not have one. They understand, thank him, and stay where they are. He offers them the public link for permits and wishes them a good shoot. Later, the light angles and throws long shadows across the stone. Marcus does another full walk. He checks the east, gate again, looking for new marks. He sees a small piece of clear tape stuck to the bottom of the fence, easy to miss. He kneels, peels it off, and feels dust on one side. That means it was placed before the ground fully dried after the rain. He does not know why it was there, but he writes it down. Tape can mark a spot, measure a distance, or test whether someone notices. He noticed. He does not share everything right away. He believes in not raising alarms for no reason, but he believes in patterns. He thinks about how a person might check a place without stepping inside. They might test a light, watch a guard's path, try a lock when no one is looking, count how long it takes to walk from one gate to another. He knows this because he has done safety checks in other jobs. He does not dwell on those years. He lets the memory of careful work guide simple steps in the present. An hour before closing, a man in a tan jacket lingers by the information board. He reads for a long time but glances often toward the side entrance. Marcus notices. The man's shoes are flat with a worn heel. He is not sure if the sole matches the morning prints, but it could. Marcus does not walk toward him fast. He watches from a distance and notes a pattern. Read, glance, adjust jacket, look at door, read again. After some minutes, Marcus chooses a clear path of approach and a friendly tone. He greets the man and asks if he needs help. The man smiles in a thin way and says he is fine, just reading the plaques. His eyes slide past Marcus toward the door, then back to the board. Marcus nods, thanks him for visiting, and points out. A brochure stand near the main steps. He does not block the man. He does not corner him. He simply shifts attention to a place with more people and better sight lines. The man drifts that way, picks up a brochure, and after a short while steps out to the sidewalk and leaves. Marcus writes in the book, tan jacket, long at info board, interest in side entrance, no issue at this time. He keeps notes short because notes should be short. The point is not to tell a story now, but to help one make sense later. He adds the time, the weather, and a quick sketch of the board and door. He closes the book and moves on with the last set of checks, the same way every day, not because he is stuck in habit, but because the habit is what keeps the place safe. The last visitors exit as the sky turns deeper. Marcus secures the inner areas and checks that the flags are lit. He walks the path one more time, slow and even, and feels the day settle into the stone. He thinks about what respect means. It is not loud. It is not a show. It is the quiet act of paying attention. It is making the place ready for the next person, the next family, the next set of eyes that will read a name and feel a soft ache. He carries this thought as he clocks out. At the main door, he does not tell co-workers about his past. They talk about simple things: a new coffee shop, a bus route that changed, a game score. He is fine with that. His past is not a secret because it is shameful. It is private because it taught him to care in a way that does not need praise. He understands order. He understands what happens when people stop seeing what is right in front of them. He will not let that happen here, not on his watch. His steadiness is a promise to the place and to himself. As he leaves for the evening, he looks back at the memorial. The lights glow soft on the stone. A guard from the night shift waves, and Marcus lifts a hand in return. He gives the man a brief update about the prints, the scratch, and the tape. The night guard nods and says he will watch. Marcus believes him. He sleeps well when he has done what he can. He walks to the bus stop with an easy step and a quiet mind, listening to the city settle into its own steady rhythm. On the walk, he passes a group of young people with bikes. They laugh and talk and move to let him through. One points to the memorial and says it looks beautiful at night. Marcus agrees. He tells them the best place to stand for a wide view without stepping on the against a rack. The CIA. The next morning begins with a pale sky and a thin mist on the grass. Marcus walks the same path as always, but now he pays special attention to the east side. The ground has dried, and the prints from yesterday are soft ghosts. He still marks their direction in his mind. He checks the side entrance lock again and feels the metal give its clean click. No new scratch. He lifts his eyes and studies the fence line, the low hedge, the angles where a person could linger and not be seen from the main steps. He does not hurry. He slows down instead, because rushing is how eyes miss small things. Before visitors arrive, he adjusts two lights that face the east gate. One is on a timer, one is on a motion sensor. He changes the timer by a few minutes and tests the motion unit. It flicks on, then off. He moves a portable mirror, a simple waist-high mirror on a stand, so that from the main path he can now see the hinge of the side entrance without walking. All the way around. It is not expensive. It is not dramatic. It just gives him an extra line of sight. He writes this change in his notebook with a small map. By mid-morning, a steady stream of people fills the path. A teacher with a school group gives a quiet talk beside the flag. A pair of tourists take photos of the stone and then each other. A groundskeeper hums with his radio and waves as he passes. Marcus greets them all with calm warmth. He notices a small thing. A car idles for longer than usual at the intersection outside the fence. It is a common car and could be anyone, but the driver keeps looking down at something, then up at the east hedge, then down again. Marcus does not stare. He notes the color, a missing hubcap, and a small dent near the back bumper. He writes these in his notebook when the car moves on. After lunch, he hears a faint sound like a mosquito in the distance. It is not a bee. It is not yard equipment. He looks up and sees a small hobby drone, the kind people use for simple videos. It is not over the memorial. It stays outside the fence line, high enough to be legal and low enough to be nosy. It hovers for a moment near the east hedge, then slips away. He does not chase it. He steps back under a tree, pulls out his phone, and takes a clear photo of the sky so the drone is visible against it. He sends the photo with a quick note to his supervisor, along with times and direction of travel. He keeps his tone even. Possible scouting, no violation. Observed east perimeter interest. His supervisor calls back. The voice is steady and supportive. Resources are tight. But the supervisor tells him that the local precinct has a community officer who can swing by more often this week. Marcus thanks them. He does not ask for patrols at fixed times. He suggests they vary. Predictable patterns make easy reading for anyone who wants trouble. He also asks for a small budget to replace 2 aging lock plates and to add a second sign at the east side that clearly lists hours and rules. Clear signs lower excuses. Clear rules lower confusion. The supervisor agrees and files the work order. In the late afternoon, two teens lean against the fence again. This time they stay longer and talk louder. One calls out to Marcus asking if the memorial is ever fun. Marcus smiles and says, "It is for people who come to think and to remember." His voice is friendly, and his words are simple. The teens make a few more jokes, but nothing harsh. He does not react. He walks a slow arc that keeps them in view without making them feel watched. After a while, they leave. He writes a short line in his notes. Teens at East Fence, return visit. Tone, teasing, no harm. Time on site, 14 minutes. As evening gets closer, he adds two more small defenses. First, he places a low cart near the inside of the side entrance. It holds brochures, a flashlight, and a clean towel. To anyone else, it looks like a cart. To Marcus, it is a movable barrier that slows a quick push. Second, he sets a small, battery-powered light in a nearby window and programs it to flicker like a television after closing hours. From outside, it will suggest movement and presence, even when the room is empty. He does not expect these to stop a serious attempt. He expects them to buy seconds. Seconds help. He also starts a new practice with the staff. He gathers two part-time guards and the night shift lead for a short, friendly talk near the break area. He does not give orders. He shares simple habits. He shows them the mirror and explains why it matters that they can see the hinge without walking. He suggests they vary the order of their checks by a little each night, not a lot, just enough. He teaches them a phrase to use on the radio if they see something off. "Check the east gate, please." It sounds normal. It is meant to sound normal. He tells them the point is not to catch anyone. The point is to keep surprises small. That night, after closing, he walks to the sidewalk to watch the street for a minute. The air smells like cut, grass, and cool stone. Then he hears that mosquito hum again. The drone appears from behind a tree line and floats near the flag lights. It does not cross the fence. It slides higher, then drops, then goes toward the east hedge. Marcus steps back, into shadow, and takes another photo. The drone leaves. He calls the non-emergency number and gives a calm report, description, direction, time, and that it stayed outside the property. The dispatcher thanks him. He adds all of this to his notebook, then to the larger log when he gets home. 2 days. Pass like this, with small tests and careful answers. The car with the missing hubcap idles again one afternoon, then leaves. The drone returns twice, always staying just outside the fence. One evening, the motion light near the east gate does not come on. Marcus walks over and finds a tiny strip of tape covering the sensor. It is the same clear tape as before. He peels it away, cleans the lens with a cloth, and turns the unit slightly so it points at a broader angle. He adds a second motion light on a stand inside the fence, set at a different height. 2 angles see more than one. He feels the pressure grow, but he does not let it change his tone with visitors. He helps an older couple find a bench in the shade. He gives directions to a family with a map who are trying to visit 3 places before sunset. He makes time, as always, for the small acts that keep the place kind. The kindness is not separate from the safety. It is part of it. When people feel welcome and steady, they carry that steadiness with them. It spreads. He believes this through and through. At the end of the week, the community officer comes by in a marked car. They talk at the gate for 5 minutes. The officer has a friendly face and a notepad like Marcus's. Marcus shows the officer his mirror, his light changes, and the cart near the door. He shares the plate numbers he has seen, the times when the idling happens, and the drone photos. The officer nods and says they will vary drive-bys at different hours and quietly check the area around the intersection. Marcus thanks them and asks for no special attention. Just variety. They shake hands. The officer leaves. The next afternoon, a different kind of visitor arrives. He is a quiet man in a clean shirt carrying a small bouquet. He stands for a long time in front of a panel, lips moving as if in silent speech. When he finishes, he turns to Marcus and says a simple thank you. Marcus says, "You are welcome." The man hesitates, and then says that he once worked night repairs at a stadium and learned to spot testers, people who check routes and routines. He says softly that he has seen a van that circles twice in the early evening across the street, pale blue with a rattling tailpipe. Marcus listens, thanks him, and writes this down after the man leaves. Sometimes help comes from the quietest places. That evening, Marcus stands at the east side as the sky goes pink. A van turns the corner and slows. It is pale blue and has a rattle in the tail. It does not stop. It rolls past. He watches the driver's hands on the wheel. He does not try to memorize every detail. He chooses the useful ones. Vehicle color, noise, bumper sticker with a faded shape, right tail light a little dim. He sets these facts in his mind in a simple chain. He knows that later he will write them down and not trust memory alone. He adds one more layer to his plan. He records a short audio message on his phone that says, "Attention, this area is protected. Cameras are active. Police response is in motion. Please leave the gate immediately." He tests the tone twice to make sure it sounds calm and clear. He hopes he will not need it, but tools are best made before they are needed. He then checks the PA speaker in the main office. It is old, but working. He leaves the phone near it, with the volume set low and a small label. As days fold into each other, the pattern stays. Small tests outside the fence, no direct break-ins inside, and steady attention from Marcus and the staff. He replaces one worn lock plate with a new one. He cleans the camera lenses and angles them a little wider. He updates the signs at the east gate so the hours and rules are easy to read at a glance. He speaks once more with the part-time guards and reminds them to keep notes short and times exact. He brings coffee for the night lead and thanks him by name for 2 clear radio calls. Respect goes both ways. On a cool, windy evening, the sky darkens early. The last visitors leave faster than usual. Leaves move across the path like quiet birds. Marcus does the final walkthrough and feels a stillness that is both peaceful and alert. He senses that a decision is coming from the people outside the fence. The small tests have not found weak spots. When tests do not work, people either stop or try something bigger. He does not worry. He simply accepts this and arranges his tools so they are ease. Wind moves across the stone like a quiet hand wiping the day clean. The sky is a soft gray blue that will soon turn to night. Marcus finishes his last checks with a slow, careful pace. He touches each lock and feels the solid click. He looks. At the mirror he set near the east hinge and adjusts it a little so the angle is right. The cart inside the side entrance sits where he left it, half blocking the way and holding a flashlight and brochures. The motion lights test fine. The sign that lists hours and rules is easy to read from the sidewalk. A couple arrives late, holding hands and walking fast. They want just a minute by the steps. Marcus listens and says with a warm voice that closing time is strict, but the view from the public sidewalk is beautiful in the evening. He points to a spot where the city lights line up with the flag. They thank him and turn away without fuss. The air smells like cool stone and cut grass. In the distance, a bus lets out a sigh at the stop, then pulls away. The place feels steady. He writes the time in his notebook and adds 2 words. Clear close. He moves into the small office and looks at the camera screens. The picture is simple and bright. He checks the east side feed and the main steps. He sets his phone near the PA speaker with the recorded message ready. His radio sits on the desk, volume low. He breathes deeply and lets his shoulders rest down. He thinks, About the small tests from the past days, the tape on the sensor, the idling car with the missing hubcap, the low buzz of a drone, none of those were accidents. He did not treat them like trouble he needed to chase. He treated them like early words in a sentence that is not finished yet. A soft rattle comes from the street. He knows the sound now. It is the pale blue van, with the tail noise. The vehicle slows as it passes the east hedge. It does not stop. It turns the corner and is gone. Marcus does not hurry. He steps out to the path and lets his eyes adjust. He stands where he can see the east gate, the main, steps, and the sidewalk beyond. He is one person, but he has arranged the space so it feels like more. Light covers the stone. Shadows sit where he wants them. The office door stays open behind him at an angle that lets sound carry. Minutes pass. A soft drone hum appears, far. Away this time and then closer, like a bee searching for a flower it cannot find. The drone stays beyond the fence, slides toward the east hedge, and tilts as if looking down. Marcus takes a photo for his log, then steps into deeper shadow under a tree. He does not chase, does not wave arms. The drone drifts up and away. He notes the time in his pocketbook. Drone pass, east, 1942. The letters are neat. His hand is steady. He slips the book back into his pocket. Street noise falls for a moment, the kind of pause that can mean nothing or something. Marcus smells engine heat. He hears the whisper of tires rolling slow. The pale blue van returns, but this time it eases to a stop near the curb beyond the hedge. The headlights stay off. A rear door slides open a little and then shuts. Two shapes cross the sidewalk and move toward the fence line with an easy walk that tries too hard to look casual. They are dressed like any person out for the evening. Their pace changes when they reach the shadow near the east gate. One lifts an arm and touches the fence. Marcus does not step toward them. He steps toward the radio. His voice is calm and even. "Check the east gate, please." The night lead answers from the main office with the same calm tone. "Copy. Eyes on." Marcus dials the non-emergency number he used before. The dispatcher's voice is clear. He gives location, brief details, and notes that no one is inside. The fence and there is no direct contact. He asks, in a quiet, polite voice, for a patrol to approach from the cross street and vary the speed on arrival. The dispatcher says help is on the way. Marcus thanks them and stays on the line. At the east gate, one of the shapes kneels and examines the lower part of the lock plate. Marcus had replaced that plate last week. It is clean and new. The person runs a hand along the edge, then looks up at the motion light. There is a pause. A small strip of tape comes out of a pocket and moves toward the sensor. Marcus speaks a short phrase to the dispatcher. They are testing a light east side. He then takes 2 steps backward and presses a switch box mounted low on the office wall. Every floodlight in the east section wakes at once and washes the hedge, the gate, and the sidewalk beyond in clear, steady light. No flash. No harsh sound. Just day where night thought it could hide. The 2 shapes freeze, then pretend to tie a shoe. They talk to each other in the way people talk when they want to sound easy. Marcus does not engage. He walks the visible path toward the main steps so that if they are watching, they see a routine they have seen before. Then he turns into the office and presses play on his phone. The message he recorded speaks through the PA in a calm, firm voice. "Attention! This area is protected. Cameras are active. Police response is in motion. Please leave the gate immediately." The voice is not loud enough to scare. It is clear enough to be understood. One of the 2 steps back to the sidewalk. The other tests the gate once with a quick hand, then lets go. The new lock plate does not move. The inner cart is visible through the bars and blocks a direct path. A motion light inside the fence, set at a different height, turns on. Light reaches angles that shadows would like to keep. The two shapes talk again, turning their faces away from the light. At the curb, the pale blue van creeps forward a meter, then stops. The tail rattle is soft, but there. Marcus stays with the dispatcher and gives short, exact lines. 2 persons at East Gate, 1 vehicle idling curbside, no entry, lights on, recorded message played. I am inside the office, safe. He does not say anything dramatic. He does not guess. He tells what is true. He also clicks his radio and says, main steps are clear. The night lead replies, copy. Street is quiet. Holding position. They do not discuss plans on the air. They use simple, normal words that carry alert meaning only to them. The 2 at the gate decide to move. They do not go away. They walk along the fence toward a side angle that once held a darker shadow. That shadow is smaller now because Marcus turned the sensor earlier in the week and added a second source. The light finds them again. One looks up as if to check where the light comes from. The other looks back toward the van and makes a small hand sign that means wait to anyone who has been on a job site or a delivery. They crouch by the hedge and pull out a small tool bag. Tools are not wrong by themselves. Tools can fix, and tools can break. The bag sits in the light where the camera can see it. Marcus lets the moment breathe. He knows that time helps. Time lets people decide to step away without feeling pushed. Time also brings help. He keeps his breathing slow. He looks at the clock on the wall and marks a minute with his eyes. On the phone, he hears the dispatcher typing and then saying, units are close. He nods even though the dispatcher cannot see that. He says, thank you, as if they are talking about directions to a park. He wants every voice connected to this place to sound steady. The drone hum returns, lower and left. It tries to float under a branch to look down into the east corner. The PA message plays again, short and even. Attention! This area is protected. Cameras are active. Police response is in motion. Please leave the gate immediately. The hum wobbles and slides. Up. The 2 shapes whisper. One points at the camera near the corner. They have seen that camera before, but not from this exact angle, because Marcus widened the view. The image on his screen shows their hands, their shoulders, the bag, and the gate in a quiet, clear picture. The van moves a little again. The right. Tail light glows dim. Marcus could list 10 details now, but he chooses the 5 that will matter. He whispers to the dispatcher, pale blue van, right tail light dim, faded sticker on bumper, sliding door on curbside, tail rattle. 2 persons at fence, 1 short tool bag, no entry. He says the details once, clean and simple. He knows the dispatcher is writing. He knows the officers will hear a summary through their radios. He knows that a clear summary lowers confusion. In the first minute on scene, a small sound ticks from the gate. It is not loud. It is the kind of sound a hinge makes if someone shifts weight against it. Marcus glances at the cart through the inner bars. The cart's wheel catches a rung, exactly as he said it to do. It will not hold forever. It does not need to. It will ask for 2 extra seconds from anyone who tries to push. 2 seconds are a long time when help is near and light is everywhere. The person at the hinge looks down at the wheel and then up at the light and then back at the van, as if running numbers in their head. Marcus thinks of the young guards he spoke with earlier in the week. He thinks of the phrase he gave them for the radio. He thinks of the careful way the community officer listened and agreed to vary drive-bys. He thinks of the man with the bouquet who noticed the van and spoke softly about testers. All these small pieces are threads. He pulled, each one in a simple way, and now they tie together. This is the turning point, not because something loud happens, but because quiet preparation meets a plan that expected no resistance. The PA voice speaks one more time, then stops. Silence holds for a second that feels longer. Leaves move near. The curb and a porch light in a nearby house turns on. A neighbor's window glows. Ordinary life touches the edge of this moment and makes it smaller. The two by the fence shift their feet. The drone hum fades to the other side of the soft chirp grows into a clearer sound as the patrols approach from the cross street. The two people by the fence glance at each other. One lifts both hands, palms open. The other shifts a foot and steps back from the gate. The pale blue van inches forward as if unsure what to do. For a breath, the night holds its shape. Then steady blue lights reflect off the fence without flashing hard. A patrol car rolls into view at an easy pace and stops at an angle that looks relaxed but is smart. A second unit slows behind the van in a way that says, "Stay right there," without making a scene. Marcus keeps his voice calm with the dispatcher. "Units on scene, east side, 2 by fence, 1 van curbside, tools on ground. I remain inside." He feels the air cool on his face as he steps just inside the office doorway, where the camera has a clean view of him and the gate. He stops the PA message. He does not want extra sound now. He wants clear voices and simple choices. An officer steps out and speaks in a firm, level tone that carries but does not shout. "Folks by the fence, please keep your hands where I can see them and step back to the sidewalk." The two comply, moving slow. "Leave the bag." They do. The officer nods. "Thank you." The words matter. They tell the brain this can go the easy way. At the curb, the pale blue van tries to roll a little more, then pauses as the second unit taps a brief siren chirp and stops where the driver can see a uniform in the mirror. The driver's window lowers. The officer speaks. The van stops fully. The tail rattle goes quiet. Marcus breathes in and out. He speaks to the dispatcher one more time. "Scene is stable." The dispatcher thanks him and keeps the line open. Marcus and the night lead say almost nothing on the radio now. They don't need to. The plan they set, light, space, time, did its work. He watches the floodlights paint the hedge and gate in soft white. There are no hard shadows left to hide. Quick hands. A neighbor's porch light stays on, a warm square across the lawn. The world looks normal, and that normal look helps everyone act normal. The first officer, a steady woman with a notepad tucked into her vest, glances toward the office. Marcus lifts a hand in a small, open gesture that means, "I am here, not approaching." She nods back in a way that means, "Thank you, hold." Her body language says a lot without any fuss. She turns to the two by the fence. "We're going to keep this simple. Step over to the bench by the sidewalk, please." They walk there. The tool bag stays in clear view on the ground, its zipper half open. A second officer walks a small circle around it, keeping eyes on hands, not on the bag. He does not rush to touch anything. Time is still on their side. At the van, the driver keeps both hands on the wheel. The officer at the window looks calm and polite. He says something short, receives the driver's documents, speaks again, and walks back to his car to run the information. The second unit stays in a position that deters sudden movement, but does not make the street feel blocked. A city bus rolls by 2 blocks away. A cyclist goes past without stopping. Life keeps moving. That is good. It lowers the temperature of the moment. After a few minutes, the first officer calls to Marcus in a clear voice. "Sir, if you're comfortable, you can come to the main gate and speak with me." Marcus tells the dispatcher he is stepping out, leaves the phone on the desk, and clicks his radio so the night lead knows his path. He walks the route he always walks, not a new one. He meets the officer at the main gate, where the fence is, between them. The arrangement is smart and respectful. He can talk without stepping into the active area. "Evening," she says, not unkindly. "Are you the reporting party?" "Yes," Marcus says. "I'm Marcus Cole, the guard on duty." She notes his name. "Can you give me the short version of what you saw tonight?" Marcus tells it in clean lines like reading a simple map. Two individuals approached the east gate from the hedge. They examined the lock plate and tried to cover a motion sensor with clear tape. I illuminated the area, played a recorded message about cameras and response, and called non-emergency. I have earlier observations from this week: an idling car that matches the van's tail light and sound, a hobby drone outside the fence, and tape found on a sensor. No one entered the property, no contact. All staff are safe. The officer listens closely. Her body-worn camera records the exchange. Do you have footage and those notes available? Yes, Marcus says. Cameras captured their approach and the tool bag on the ground. I took photos of the drone when it appeared earlier this week and tonight. Thank you, she says. We'll collect any public evidence and handle the rest. Another officer joins them to retrieve the tool bag. He photographs it in place first, then picks it up with gloved hands and sets it on the sidewalk near his car. He notes the contents into a simple voice memo. Cutters, a small pry tool, tape roll, a dark cloth. Tools can be used for many things, but their location and timing speak loudly enough. He keeps the tone neutral. He does not lecture or guess. He records what is there. At the curb, the van's driver answers questions. The officer returns to the window, listens, and asks for clarity on times and reasons for being in the area. The driver's answers come slowly. The second unit watches the street in both directions. Another neighbor's light flicks on, and then off again. Someone across the road waters flowers with a small can. The everyday scene is steady even as careful work happens at the edges. The officer at the gate asks Marcus, "How often do you log activity?" "Every shift," he says. Short notes, exact times. We also made small adjustments, added a mirror. For a hinge line of sight, varied light angles, and updated signs to reduce confusion. She nods. That's thoughtful work. She looks past him at the memorial, the flag moving in the night wind. You kept your voice very even on the call. Even helps, Marcus says. He does not add more. He does not talk about where he learned that calm. He does not need to. His notes and the safe scenes say enough. The officer asks if he can email the week's summary and any still frames. Marcus agrees. The night lead inside is already saving clips, labeling them by date and time. Marcus radios. Please prepare the East Gate footage package for officers. And here's copy, packaging now, in reply. They have done this kind of thing before with lost property and minor incidents. The process scales up easily because the basics are the same. A few minutes later, the officers guide the two individuals from the bench to separate cars for further questions. There is no struggle. There are no raised voices. The driver of the van steps out when asked and follows instructions. The scene looks like a careful conversation that has moved from a question to a formal step. One officer thanks the nearest neighbor for keeping their light on. Small courtesies stack up and turn tense moments into manageable ones. When the tool bag is tagged and placed in a trunk, the first officer returns to the gate. We'll likely file charges related to attempted entry and property interference. We'll also look at any connection to similar reports in the area. Your documentation will be important. I'll send everything before midnight, Marcus says. Appreciated, she replies. She glances toward the floodlights. You did well to make the space bright and remove hiding places. That makes safe choices easier for everyone. It's a quiet place, Marcus says. It should stay that way. The officer gives a small, real smile. Agreed. She looks at his uniform again, then at his posture and the clean notes he holds. Forgive the question, but have you worked in security or safety before this job? Yes, Marcus says simply. In different settings. Well, it shows, she says. Thank you for your care. When the patrol cars pull away a little, later they do so as calmly as they arrived. No loud fanfare, no crowd. The street returns to a soft hum. The van is towed. The bench is empty. The porch light across the way clicks off. The floodlights continue to wash the gate and hedge. Inside the office, the night lad hands Marcus a small drive with the labeled clips. They check the list against his notes, drone passes, idling car times, tape on the sensor, the approach tonight, the PA message, the floodlights, the bench. Everything lines up with clean timestamps. Marcus sits at the desk and writes his incident report. He uses the same simple style as his pocket notes, just with fuller sentences. He lists only what he saw and heard. He avoids guesses. He marks the exact times. The call to non-emergency, the floodlights, the PA, the first patrol sighting, the contact at the main gate, the evidence collection, the departure. He adds a diagram of the east corner, the mirror angle, and the cart. Position inside the gate. He attaches the drone photos and 3 still frames from the cameras that show the tool bag and the moment the tape moves toward the sensor. He emails the package to the officer with a subject line that is easy to search. Later, Memorial Eastgate, observations and footage, date. He copies his supervisor. He writes one final line in his larger log at home to remind himself to ask for a replacement motion sensor lens cover and a fresh roll of caution tape for maintenance work so they never have to borrow from the wrong place. Before he leaves, he checks on the night lead and thanks him by name for staying steady on the radio. They go over a few what-ifs and decide to keep the same layered approach for the next week. Varied light angles, consistent but slightly shifted check routes, and the mirror kept in place. Marcus adds a small, friendly note for the morning staff. Good work all week. Please keep eyes on the east side. Morning comes quiet and bright, as if the memorial itself is taking a deep breath after a long night. The stone looks clean. The flag lifts and falls in a slow rhythm. Marcus walks his path with the same careful pace as always. He checks each lock. He checks the mirror at the east hinge. He wipes dust from a camera lens with a small cloth he keeps in his pocket. He notes that the new sign by the side entrance stands straight and easy to read. Everything looks ordinary again, and that is his favorite view. Visitors arrive with soft voices. A mother shows her child a name on the wall. A pair of friends stand shoulder to shoulder and take a photo from the public sidewalk. A man in a suit pauses, closes his eyes for a few seconds, then moves on, as if he left a small part of his day in the care of the place. Marcus greets each person in the same gentle way. He gives directions, points to a water fountain, and thanks them for being respectful. No one sees all the layers he built in the last week. They do not need to see them. They only need to feel safe and welcome. Before noon, his supervisor stops by with 2 cups of tea and a paper folder. Good work, the supervisor says in a low, warm voice. The officers sent a short note about last night. They said your calm helped the scene stay calm. They also appreciated your notes and the footage package. Marcus nods. He does not make much of it. He just says, "We had time and light. That always helps." The supervisor slides the folder over. Would you write a short guide for the staff? Nothing big, just the simple habits you used. Marcus agrees. He will write it the same way he writes in his pocketbook, clean and clear. In the afternoon, the community officer returns, this time on foot. They talk by the main steps. The officer gives a simple update. The van was towed. The driver's paperwork had questions. The 2 people by the fence answered basic questions. More follow-up will happen in its own time. Marcus listens without a hard face or a soft one. He just listens. The officer says, "We'll keep varying our passes. If you notice new patterns, call." Marcus thanks them and adds one thing. Please, keep arrival times uneven. The officer smiles. Already in the plan. That evening, a small group of neighbors meet near the corner for a community chat. Marcus stands with them as a guest, not a boss. People speak in a circle. They thank the officers for a calm response. They thank Marcus for keeping a steady tone. A woman from across the street says she felt safer when the floodlights came on, not scared. The light felt like care, she says. The words rest on everyone's faces with a calm truth. Marcus shares two thoughts. Report early, in a friendly way, and keep your porch light working. He says that simple visibility is a kind of kindness to everyone. Later in the week, Marcus visits a youth program at the community center, just as he offered. He stands in a small room with bright posters, a whiteboard, and a ring of chairs. The young people are curious. They want to hear about the night and the plan that kept things peaceful. Marcus tells the story in simple steps. He talks about patience, light, and time. He talks about how most people make better choices when they can see clearly and when they are not pushed into a corner. He does not talk about his old units or old jobs. He talks about respect. He says, "You can be strong without being loud. You can be safe without making others feel small." One student raises a hand and asks how he knew what to do. Marcus thinks for a second and says, "I practice paying attention. I learned to read small signs. I learned to write things down so I could see patterns. Anyone can learn that. You do not need a special past to start." Another student asks what to do if they see something strange on their own street. Marcus says, "Tell a trusted adult. Share the facts, not guesses. Use calm words. Turn on a light if you can. Stay safe." The program leader thanks him. The room feels lighter when he leaves. Back at the memorial, small improvements continue without noise. Maintenance replaces the motion sensor lens and installs a slim shield so tape will not stick easily. The second lock plate arrives and goes, in place with clean screws. The portable mirror at the hinge is secured so it will not tip. The night lead and the part-time guards keep varying their walk order by a little, the way Marcus suggested. They trade a simple phrase on the radio now and then, just to keep the habit alive. "Check the east gate, please." It sounds normal. It is meant to sound normal. A few days later, a local paper calls the office. They ask to speak to the calm guard. Marcus does not enjoy attention. He tells his supervisor he would rather not be named. The supervisor understands. The short article that appears uses general words: a watchful guard, a measured response, a bright, safe space. It includes a sentence that makes Marcus quietly happy. No one was hurt, and the memorial never closed. Some readers might want a story with louder moments, but the city has enough of those. This one ends with stillness and care. A week passes. The memorial's rhythm holds. The morning sun warms the stone. School groups visit with backpacks and clipboards. A veteran sits on a bench and looks at the flag for a long time. Marcus helps a person with a walker find the smoothest path to the steps. He lifts the edge of a small rug so the walker will not catch. He says, "Take your time," and means it. When the person reaches the bench and rests, they look up at him and say, "You guard with your heart." He does not know how to answer that, so he just nods and says, "Thank you for being here." One afternoon, an older man in a simple cap lingers by the east side and watches Marcus's careful path. When Marcus comes near, the man says softly, "You walked like this years ago, didn't you? Different places, same eyes." His tone is friendly, not prying. Marcus smiles. "Different places, yes. Same eyes, I hope." The man taps his cap. "It shows. Thank you for using that steady way here." They do not say more. They do not need to. It is enough that one person recognizes the pattern and sees how it is being used for quiet good. The short guide Marcus writes for the staff goes up in the break area as a one-page sheet. It is simple and plain with no big words and no drama. It says, "Vary walks a little, test lights often, keep signs clear and kind. Write notes with time and weather, use the word please out loud, use the radio briefly, ask for patrols. To vary time, keep a small cart inside a side entrance. And most of all, stay polite, even when alert." The page ends with a line everyone can hold in their head. Light, plus time plus choice. Calm. The staff like it because it is easy to remember. When the case for the attempt at entry reaches a small court, Marcus is called to provide a statement. He does so in the same short style: what he saw, what he did, and why he chose light and time over anger and noise. The judge listens and asks just a few questions. There is no big theater. The outcome includes fines and community service at local history sites. The court also suggests a visit to the community center to hear a talk on respect in public spaces. Marcus does not cheer or scold. He simply thinks that consequences, when fair and clear, can teach without breaking people. On a rainy day, the memorial is almost empty. Marcus wipes the main steps with a long-handled squeegee so puddles do not build. He sees a small bunch of flowers left near the panel where the man with the bouquet once stood. The card is wet. He covers it with a dry plastic sleeve from his pocket so the ink will not run. Later, the groundskeeper finds him and says, "You have a way of making people feel that this place has hands." Marcus smiles at that picture. Hands lift. Hands steady. Hands do not need to push. A month after the night of the van and the tool bag, a teacher asks Marcus if he will say a few words to her class before they walk the path. He says yes. He keeps it short. He tells them that names on stone are not just names. They are people who laughed and worked and wrote letters home. He tells them that care for a place is care for the people who come to it. He says that kindness is not a small job. It is a big job made of many small acts. The students nod and listen. One boy raises his hand and asks if being a guard is boring. Marcus says, "Not when you notice things, not when you care." On a warm evening, he stands by the east gate as the flag catches the last light. He thinks about the threads that made the hard night turn soft: a neighbor's porch light, the patient voice of a dispatcher, the steady approach of officers, the notes in a pocketbook, a simple PA message, a cartwheel set to catch, and a city that kept moving around a quiet scene. None of those things shout. All of those things matter. Together they form a net wide enough to catch trouble before it falls. A co-worker asks him very gently about his past. Not to pry, just to say they respect the way he carries himself. Marcus answers in a way that honors the question, but keeps the story small. He says he learned a lot about planning and care in other jobs. He says those lessons belong to everyone now. He says anyone can choose light and time. Anyone can practice calm words. Anyone can write good notes. The coworker smiles and says, "I'm learning from you." Marcus replies, "I'm learning from you too." He means it. Respect goes both ways. As the season turns, the memorial remains what it should be: open, clean, and steady. The staff carry the small habits forward. The community officer and their team keep their passes irregular but dependable. The neighbors keep their porch lights working and their eyes friendly. The youth program grows, and the leader invites. Marcus back once in a while. He always keeps the talk short. He says, "You have more pee.